In the vast chambers of the Concordat's Central Assembly, Ambassador Xerox of the Melkin Confederation stood before the gathered representatives of 500 civilizations. Her iridescent scales shimmered under the pale blue light as she gestured toward the holographic display of Earth floating above the assembly floor. Esteemed members of the Concordat, she began, her translator converting her harmonic speech into the standard galactic frequency. For the past 50 cycles, we have observed a peculiarity in our midst. The species known as humans continues to puzzle our finest behavioral analysts. The assembled representatives shifted in their environmental pods, their attention fixed on the slowly rotating image of the blue-green world. Earth had joined the galactic community nearly 5 decades ago, yet remained an enigma to the ancient alliance of spacefaring civilizations. Their military expenditure is minimal compared to their economic capacity. Xerox continued. Their fleet consists primarily of research vessels and cargo ships. When faced with territorial disputes, they invariably choose diplomatic channels over military action. Even their colony expansion is conducted through careful negotiation rather than the traditional method of claiming unchallenged space. High Commander Cross of the Arcturus Military Coalition rose from his gravity-adjusted platform. His massive form, evolved from eons of high-gravity warfare, cast a shadow across the chamber floor. Are we not simply observing a species that has recognized its place in the galactic hierarchy? They must surely understand that their military technology lags centuries behind the Concordat's capabilities. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. The humans' apparent pacifism had long been attributed to a realistic assessment of their position in the galactic power structure. Yet Ambassador Xerox's next words sent a chill through the chamber. New intelligence suggests otherwise, she said, her scales darkening to a deep purple, a sign of grave concern among her species. Our deep cover analysts have discovered something disturbing. The humans' public military profile appears to be deliberately understated. The holographic display shifted, showing a series of encrypted transmissions intercepted from Earth's quantum network. These communications, recently decrypted by our best AI systems, reveal the existence of classified military installations throughout their territory. The scope of these facilities suggests a military capacity far beyond what they have publicly acknowledged. High Commander Cross leaned forward, his battle-scarred exoskeleton creaking. Explain. The humans have been developing their military capabilities in secret for decades, Xerox responded. But unlike any species we have encountered, they have chosen to hide their strength rather than display it. Their strategy appears to be one of deliberate underestimation. The assembly erupted in discussion. Such behavior was unprecedented in galactic history. Every known species that had achieved significant military capability had immediately demonstrated it, using their strength to secure better trading terms or territorial concessions. The concept of deliberately appearing weaker was alien to the Concordat's members. There's more, Xerox continued once the chamber quieted. We have detected unusual energy signatures from several of their supposedly civilian research stations. Our analysts believe they have developed shielding technology that surpasses our theoretical models. The holographic display showed a series of energy readings that defied conventional understanding of defensive capabilities. The humans had somehow managed to create quantum state shields that could adapt to any form of energy weapon in the known galaxy. But why? Asked Representative Thel of the Silicon Consciousness, their crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. What purpose does hiding such capabilities serve? Xerox's scales shifted to a deep blue of uncertainty. We believe they are preparing for a scenario they call worst case. Their historical records show a pattern of catastrophic conflicts among their own species. This experience appears to have shaped their approach to galactic politics. They expect betrayal, High Commander Cross concluded, his voice carrying the weight of military experience. They anticipate that someday, someone will attempt to subjugate them. Precisely, Xerox confirmed. And they have spent 50 cycles preparing for that possibility while maintaining an appearance of vulnerability. Their diplomatic overtures, their emphasis on peaceful resolution, these may not be signs of weakness at all, but rather a preference for avoiding unnecessary conflict while maintaining the capability for devastating retaliation. The assembly fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had not been acting out of fear or weakness, but from a position of carefully concealed strength. Their every action in galactic politics needed to be reevaluated in this new light. "There is a human phrase," Xyrax added, her scales now showing bands of warning red, "that our cultural analysts believe is relevant. Speak softly and carry a big stick. We have been hearing the soft speech for 50 cycles. We should perhaps be more concerned about the stick." High Commander Cross's battle systems hummed as he processed this information. "How do you suggest we proceed, Ambassador?" "With extreme caution," she replied. "The humans have demonstrated remarkable restraint despite possessing capabilities that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. They have chosen to be peaceful not because they must, but because they prefer it. I suggest we respect that choice." The holographic display shifted again, showing the extent of human territory. What had once seemed like a modest collection of colonies and outposts now took on a more ominous appearance. Each location could potentially house military capabilities that rivaled or exceeded those of the Concordat's strongest members. "There is another matter," Xyrax continued, her scales now pulsing with urgency. "Our analysts have detected increased activity at several of their classified installations. They appear to be responding to something, though we cannot determine what has triggered this activity." Representative Thell's crystalline form vibrated with concern. "Could they have detected our surveillance?" "Unlikely," Xyrax responded. "Our methods were beyond their known detection capabilities. However," she paused, her scales shifting through patterns of uncertainty. "Given what we have learned about their tendency to exceed our expectations, we cannot be certain." The assembly descended into troubled discussion. The revelation that humanity had been quietly building military capability while maintaining a peaceful facade challenged everything the Concordat thought they knew about their newest members. High Commander Cross raised his massive form once again. "I move that we establish a special committee to reassess all our past interactions with humanity. If they have been operating at this level of sophistication in their military development, we must question what other capabilities they have concealed." The motion passed unanimously, but as the representatives filed out of the chamber, Ambassador Xyrax remained, staring at the holographic image of Earth. Her scales had settled into a pattern that, in her species, indicated deep contemplation. The humans had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had developed in secret, maintained peace through choice rather than necessity, and prepared for war while actively working to avoid it. As she watched the blue-green world rotate slowly in the holographic display, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had only scratched the surface of humanity's true capabilities. And somewhere on that distant planet, in classified facilities hidden from prying eyes, humanity continued its quiet preparation for a day they hoped would never come, but would be ready for if it did. 3 days after the Concordat Assembly's revelation, the first signs of humanity's hidden depth became impossible to ignore. Deep in the Arcturus sector, a routine patrol of Concordat vessels encountered something that would shatter their remaining assumptions about human military doctrine. Fleet Commander Vexterra of the Arcturus Military Coalition watched the sensor readings with mounting disbelief. Her ship, the Decisive Edge, had detected an anomaly near the human colony of New Eden. What initially appeared to be a simple gravitational distortion revealed itself to be something far more sophisticated. "Report," she commanded, her 4 arms moving across the neural interface panels with practiced efficiency. Her sensor officer, a cybernetically enhanced silicate named Core 7, responded with uncharacteristic hesitation. "Commander, we're detecting a network of quantum-entangled satellites extending throughout the entire sector. They appear to be human in origin." Vexterra's secondary hearts skipped a beat. "Impossible. Our intelligence suggests they lack the technology for large-scale quantum entanglement." The evidence suggests otherwise, Core 7 replied. The network appears to be part of an early warning system. Its complexity exceeds anything in our database. The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just developed advanced military technology. They had deployed it across vast stretches of space without anyone noticing. The sophistication required for such an operation went beyond mere technological capability. It demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that the Concordat had severely underestimated. "Show me the full extent," Vex Terra ordered. The main view screen filled with a three-dimensional map of the sector. Red dots appeared, representing each detected quantum satellite. They formed an intricate web that covered not just human space, but extended well into neutral territories. The pattern was beautiful in its complexity, resembling a massive neural network. Each satellite appears to be capable of instantaneous communication through quantum entanglement, Core 7 explained. The network could theoretically detect and report any threat to human space before it even reached their outer colonies. Vex Terra's tactical mind raced with the implications. They've created an early warning system that completely bypasses standard faster-than-light communication delays. But why reveal it now? The answer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Zara, their resident xenopsychologist, spoke up from her station. "They haven't revealed it, Commander. We've simply reached the point where they can no longer easily conceal it." "Explain," Vex Terra demanded. "The humans have a concept they call deterrence through disclosure," Zora continued. "When a defensive capability becomes too large to hide effectively, they allow it to be discovered in a controlled manner. It serves as a warning without being an overt threat." The bridge fell silent as the crew processed this information. The humans had turned their perceived technological disadvantage into a strategic advantage. By allowing the discovery of one advanced system, they suggested the existence of others still hidden. "New contact," Core 7 suddenly announced. "A human vessel is approaching. They're requesting permission to dock." Vex Terra's membrane ridges flared in surprise. They knew we were here all along. The human ship that approached was unlike any they had seen before. It bore civilian markings but moved with military precision. Its hull seemed to shift and shimmer, suggesting active camouflage technology far beyond what humans were thought to possess. "We're receiving a transmission," Core 7 reported. The holographic display activated, revealing a human female in what appeared to be a civilian diplomatic uniform. "Greetings, Fleet Commander Vex Terra. I'm Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Initiative. We believe it's time for a frank discussion about mutual security concerns." Vex Terra noted the careful choice of words. The human hadn't apologized for the deception, nor had she attempted to explain it away. Instead, she had moved directly to treating it as a matter for diplomatic discussion. "You've been watching us discover your capabilities," Vex Terra stated. Ambassador Chen's slight smile confirmed the accusation. "We believe in maintaining peace through strength, Commander. But we also believe in preventing unnecessary escalation. Your discovery of our early warning network provides an opportunity for increased transparency between our peoples." Transparency. Vex Terra's secondary hearts thrummed with diplomatic tension. "Your species has systematically concealed its military capabilities for half a century." "We have," Chen acknowledged without hesitation. "Just as your coalition has concealed the existence of its biomechanical warfare division in the Protean sector." The bridge crew froze. That information was classified at the highest levels of the coalition. Its casual mention by a human diplomat sent shockwaves through the command staff. "How long have you known?" Vex Terra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Since its inception," Chen replied. "Just as we know about the Silicate Consciousness's quantum computing farms in the Vega system and the Melkin Confederation's genetic engineering facilities on their outer colonies, we believe in being well informed about our neighbors' capabilities." Vex Terra's tactical training kicked in, analyzing the implications. The humans hadn't just been hiding their own capabilities. They had been gathering intelligence on everyone else's secret projects while maintaining a facade of technological innocence. Why reveal this now? Vex Terra demanded. Chen's expression grew serious. Because something is coming, Commander. Something that will require cooperation rather than competition. We've detected anomalies at the edge of known space, patterns that suggest an external threat to all of us. The holographic display shifted, showing data streams that made Core 7's crystalline structure pulse with alarm. These readings, they're impossible. Not impossible, Chen corrected. Just beyond our current understanding. We've been preparing for this possibility for decades. It's why we chose to develop our capabilities in secret, to maintain strategic advantage against unknown threats rather than known neighbors. Vex Terra studied the human diplomat carefully. You're proposing an alliance. We're proposing survival, Chen responded. The Concordat's recent discovery of our quantum network wasn't entirely unplanned. We needed a way to begin this conversation without causing panic. Your patrol provided that opportunity. The implications of such long-term strategic planning were staggering. The humans hadn't just been hiding their capabilities, they had been orchestrating events to serve their purposes while appearing to react to them. Your species is far more sophisticated than we imagined, Vex Terra admitted. Chen's smile returned, but it held no triumph, only determination. Commander, what you've discovered today isn't the extent of our capabilities. It's merely our first step toward open cooperation. The real question is, are you and the Concordat prepared to look beyond your preconceptions and work with us as equals? As Vex Terra considered her response, she couldn't help but appreciate the elegance of the human strategy. They had maintained peace not through weakness, but through calculated restraint. They had prepared for war while actively working to prevent it. And now, facing an unknown threat, they were revealing their strength not to intimidate, but to inspire cooperation. The future of galactic politics was about to change dramatically, and humanity, it seemed, had been preparing for this moment all along. The emergency session of the Concordat's High Council cast long shadows across the quantum-linked chambers. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched as Admiral Sarah Chen, newly appointed commander of Earth's Combined Defense Forces, stepped onto the central platform. The transition from diplomat to military leader had been swift, necessitated by events that were now unfolding at the edge of known space. 3 hours ago, Chen began, her holographic form visible to all council members. We lost contact with the Arcturus Deep Space Research Station. Our quantum network detected an energy surge unlike anything we've encountered before. What followed was unprecedented. The display behind her showed the research station, a massive structure that had housed 10,000 researchers from various species. The footage began normally, then distorted as something emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. The feed cut to static moments later. High Commander Cross leaned forward in his gravity pod. You're suggesting an invasion. We're suggesting something worse, Chen responded, her voice grave. The entity that emerged doesn't match any known form of matter or energy in our databases. It appears to be rewriting the laws of physics in its vicinity. The council chamber erupted in voices of concern and disbelief. Ambassador Zyrax's scales had turned pure white, a sign of extreme distress among her kind. Impossible. The fundamental constants cannot be altered. That was our assumption as well, Chen agreed. However, we've been monitoring similar anomalies for the past 20 years. It's why we developed our quantum network in the first place, not just as an early warning system against conventional threats, but as a way to detect and study these phenomena. The display shifted to show a map of similar incidents across the galaxy, each one small but growing in frequency and intensity. The pattern was clear. Whatever was emerging was testing the boundaries of known space, probing for weaknesses. Why wasn't this shared with the Concordat earlier? Demanded Representative Thel. Chen's expression remained composed. Because until now, we couldn't be certain of what we were dealing with. Sharing incomplete information would have caused panic without providing solutions. Instead, we focused our resources on understanding and preparing for this threat. The holographic display updated again, showing a massive structure hidden beneath the surface of Mars. This is the Prometheus Project. For the past 30 years, we've been developing technology to counter extra-dimensional incursions. The quantum network you discovered was just the detection system. The real defensive capabilities have remained hidden until now. The Council watched in stunned silence as the display revealed layer after layer of advanced technology. Weapons that could target points in space-time itself. Shields that could stabilize local physics against external manipulation. Artificial intelligence systems that could predict and counter attacks operating outside normal causality. You've been preparing for an impossible war, High Commander Cross observed, his voice carrying a mix of awe and concern. We've been preparing for this exact moment, Chen corrected. Humanity's history is filled with instances of civilizations that failed to prepare for the unimaginable. We chose not to repeat that mistake. A new alert flashed across the display. More tiers were appearing, now at multiple points across the galaxy. The quantum network was lighting up with warnings as reality itself began to buckle under some unseen pressure. We don't have time for debate, Chen announced. The Prometheus project is ready for deployment, but it requires coordination with all Concordat species. We need your quantum computing networks, your biomechanical engineering facilities, and your genetic research centers. Everything we've pretended not to know about. We need it all, working in concert. Ambassador Xyrex's scales shifted to a deep purple of decision. You knew this day was coming. That's why you let us discover your capabilities gradually, to prepare us for this moment. Chen nodded. Humanity's apparent restraint wasn't just about avoiding conflict. It was about being ready when a real threat emerged. We needed potential allies who would listen when the time came, not enemies who would dismiss our warnings out of spite. The display showed new data streaming in from the quantum network. The tiers in space were growing, and something was definitely emerging. The readings defied conventional physics, matter that existed in multiple states simultaneously, energy patterns that rewrote the very fabric of space-time. What we're facing, Chen continued, isn't just an invasion. It's an attempt by something outside our universe to rewrite the rules of our reality. The choice before us is simple: stand together or fall separately. High Commander Cross rose from his gravity pod, his battle systems humming with activation. The Arcturus Military Coalition stands with Earth. Our biomechanical forces are yours to command. One by one, the representatives of the Concordat pledged their support. The Silicate Consciousness offered their quantum computing farms. The Melkin Confederation committed their genetic engineering capabilities. Technologies that had been hidden for centuries were suddenly brought into the open, as the gravity of the situation overwhelmed old rivalries and suspicions. What you're seeing now, Chen explained as the pledges continued, is why humanity chose to develop in secret. We needed to be strong enough to face this threat, but not so aggressive that we created enemies among those we'd need as allies. Every diplomatic concession, every seemingly weak response to provocation, it was all to ensure that when this moment came, we would be united. The quantum network flared with new warnings. The tiers in space were multiplying exponentially now, appearing in systems across the galaxy. Whatever was coming, it was coming soon. Chen's voice carried across the quantum-linked chamber with calm authority. The Prometheus project is designed to stabilize our reality against external manipulation, but it requires more power and coordination than any single species could provide. Together, with all our hidden strengths combined, we have a chance. As the council chambers transformed into a war room, with representatives coordinating the deployment of their most advanced technologies, Ambassador Xyrex approached Chen privately. Your species, she observed, her scales showing patterns of deep respect, has achieved something unprecedented. You prepared for war while preventing it, built alliances while appearing isolated, and developed strength while seeming weak. All for this moment. Chen's response was solemn. Humanity learned long ago that the greatest threats don't announce themselves. They emerge suddenly, testing for weaknesses. Our history taught us to be ready not just with weapons, but with allies. The appearance of weakness was our greatest strength. It gave us time to prepare while preventing the very conflicts that would have weakened us for this fight. The quantum network blazed with new alerts. The moment of truth had arrived. As reality itself began to bend and twist under external pressure, humanity's long preparation was about to be tested. The true war, the one they had spent 50 years preparing for, was about to begin. And this time, they wouldn't be fighting alone. The first wave of the invasion shattered every model of warfare the Concordat had ever developed. The entities emerging from the reality tiers, dubbed Void Walkers by human tactical AI, didn't so much attack as they rewrote the space around them. Conventional weapons passed through them harmlessly, their matter existing in quantum superposition that made targeting impossible. But humanity had prepared for even this. Admiral Chen stood in the central command hub of the Prometheus project, her neural interface connecting her directly to the vast defense network that humanity had built in secret. Around her, representatives from every major Concordat species watched as she initiated humanity's true defensive capabilities. Activating Phase 1 of the Prometheus protocol, she announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Beginning quantum reality anchoring. Across the galaxy, hidden installations buried deep within human colonies suddenly activated. Massive arrays of technology that had been disguised as mining operations or research facilities revealed their true purpose. They began emitting fields that stabilized local spacetime, creating bubbles of protected reality where the laws of physics remained constant. High Commander Cross watched the tactical display with growing amazement. These installations, they cover nearly every strategic point in the galaxy. How did we never detect their true purpose? Because we designed them to be overlooked, Chen explained as she coordinated the defense network. Each facility was built to appear as something else entirely. The energy signatures were masked by what seemed to be industrial operations. Even the workers didn't know the true nature of what they were maintaining. The display showed the Void Walkers encountering the stabilized zones, where before they had moved with impossible fluidity. Now they found themselves confined by the laws of conventional physics. It was like watching water suddenly freeze. Their fluid motion became rigid, constrained. Phase 2 initiating, Chen announced. Quantum targeting grid online. This was where the combined strengths of the Concordat species came into play. The silicate consciousness's quantum computers interfaced with human targeting systems. The Melkin Confederation's genetic engineering facilities activated, releasing swarms of engineered organisms that could detect and track quantum fluctuations. The Arcturus Military Coalition's biomechanical forces deployed, their hybrid nature allowing them to operate in the shifting reality between stabilized zones. Now they understand, said Ambassador Xerox, her scales showing patterns of grim satisfaction. Why humans never focused on conventional military power. They were preparing for an entirely different kind of war. The truth of her words became apparent as the next layer of human technology revealed itself. From hidden bases throughout human space, ships unlike anything the Concordat had ever seen emerge. They weren't the clunky, utilitarian vessels that humanity had always used. These were smooth, organic-looking crafts that seemed to bend light around them. Quantum phase ships, Chen explained as the vessels took up defensive positions, designed to operate in spaces where reality itself is in flux. Each one is piloted by a hybrid team of human consciousness and artificial intelligence, capable of making decisions at quantum speeds. The Void Walkers, finding themselves increasingly constrained by the stabilized zones, began to adapt. They attempted to tear new holes in reality, seeking to bypass the human defenses. But wherever they appeared, they found the quantum grid waiting for them. They expected us to fight conventionally, Chen continued, her hands dancing across the neural interface as she coordinated the defense. To waste resources trying to match their ability to manipulate reality. Instead, we focused on negating their advantages, making them fight in our reality, by our rules. The battle that unfolded was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human quantum ships, supported by Concordat forces, engaged the Void Walkers in spaces where reality itself was contested. The combined technological might of multiple civilizations worked in concert, each playing to their strengths in a symphony of organized chaos. But the true revelation came when Chen activated the final phase of the Prometheus Protocol. "What you're about to see," she warned the assembled representatives, "is why we kept so much hidden. Why we allowed ourselves to be underestimated for so long." The quantum network suddenly pulsed with new energy as hundreds of thousands of human minds linked together through neural interfaces. Each was a volunteer, trained for years in secret for this very moment. Their combined consciousness, augmented by AI, and supported by the most advanced technology every species could offer, began to do the impossible. They began to push back against the reality tiers themselves. Humanity's greatest strength, Chen explained as the combined consciousness worked, isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt, to imagine the impossible, and then make it real. We didn't just prepare our weapons, we prepared our minds. The assembled representatives watched in awe as the human consciousness collective, working through the quantum network, began to seal the tiers in reality. They weren't just fighting the Void Walkers, they were learning to manipulate the very forces that the entities used, turning their own weapons against them. "This is why we maintained peace for so long," Chen continued, her voice showing the strain of coordinating such vast efforts. "Why we avoided conflicts that would have revealed our capabilities too soon. We needed every resource, every mind, every bit of technology focused on preparing for this moment." The Void Walkers, finding themselves suddenly matched in their ability to manipulate reality, began to retreat. But the human-led defense wasn't content to simply drive them back. The combined forces of humanity and the Concordat pursued them through their own tiers in reality, turning their invasion routes into channels for counterattack. As the tide of battle turned, High Commander Cross turned to Chen with newfound respect. "Your species," he observed, "hasn't just been preparing for war. You've been preparing to rewrite the rules of warfare itself." Chen's response was interrupted by new alerts from the quantum network. The Void Walkers were pulling back on all fronts, but something else was emerging from the deeper tiers in reality. Something larger, more powerful, and far more dangerous. "And now," Chen announced, her voice carrying both determination and grim satisfaction, "we'll show them why underestimating humanity was their greatest mistake." The final battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to reveal the full extent of their preparations. The entity that emerged from the deepest reality tier defied description in any known language. It was vast beyond comprehension, a being of such complexity that even the advanced sensors of the combined fleet struggled to process its presence. The quantum network designated it simply as Origin Point, the source from which all the Void Walkers had emerged. Admiral Chen stood unwavering in the Prometheus Command Center, her neural interface humming with the combined consciousness of hundreds of thousands of human minds. The assembled representatives of the Concordat watched as humanity prepared to reveal their final, most closely guarded secret. "For 50 years, Chen announced, her voice resonating through the quantum network, we've been asked why humans seem so fascinated with archaeological digs on seemingly worthless planets. Why we spent so much resources exploring ancient ruins that appeared to hold no value." The holographic display shifted to show a network of sites across the galaxy, places where humanity had maintained what appeared to be simple research outposts. But as the image enhanced, the truth became clear. Each site housed a piece of technology far older than any known civilization. "We found evidence of them 20 years ago," Chen continued. "A civilization that faced the same enemy we face now, millions of years in the past. They didn't survive the encounter, but they left behind the tools we'd need to finish what they started." The Origin Point began to send out waves of reality-distorting energy, attempting to reshape the very fabric of space around it. But at each archaeological site, Ancient machinery that humanity had spent decades studying and restoring began to activate. This is why we needed the combined strength of all species, Chen explained as the machines powered up. The ancient technology requires more energy than any single civilization could provide. It needs the quantum computing power of the silicates, the biological adaptation capabilities of the Melkin, and the biomechanical interface systems of the Arcturus Coalition. Everything we've brought together. It was all for this moment. High Commander Cross watched in amazement as the ancient machines began to emit fields of energy that somehow felt both familiar and completely alien. You found their weapons. Not weapons, Chen corrected, a slight smile playing at her lips. Something far more powerful. We found their understanding of reality itself. The Void Walkers aren't invading our universe. They're running from the death of their own. The origin point isn't trying to destroy our reality. It's trying to preserve itself by overriding ours. The ancient machines, now fully powered by the combined energy of multiple civilizations, began to create something new. Not barriers or weapons, but bridges, stable pathways between realities. The previous civilization didn't fail because they were weak, Chen continued. They failed because they tried to fight an enemy that wasn't actually their enemy. The Void Walkers and their origin point aren't malevolent. They're desperate. And humanity spent 50 years not just preparing for war, but understanding why we might need to avoid one. The quantum network pulsed with new energy as the human consciousness collective began to communicate not just with each other, but with the origin point itself. Through the ancient technology and their own developed capabilities, they reached across the barrier between realities. We're offering them a choice, Chen explained to the stunned representatives. Not conquest or destruction, but cooperation. The ancient civilization found a way to create stable connections between realities, to allow controlled transfer without destruction. They ran out of time to implement it, but they left everything we'd need to finish their work. The origin point's attacks ceased as it processed the communication. Through the quantum network, the assembled representatives could sense its surprise and its hope. This is humanity's true strength, Ambassador Xerex realized, her scales showing patterns of deep understanding. Not the ability to win wars, but the wisdom to know when not to fight them. The ancient machines, guided by human consciousness and powered by the combined strength of multiple civilizations, began to create a network of stable bridges between realities. The origin point, after eons of desperate searching for a way to save its dying universe, found what it had been looking for. Not conquest, but sanctuary. We spent 50 years preparing for every possibility, Chen said, her voice carrying both pride and humility, including the possibility that our greatest victory would come not through fighting, but through understanding. Every secret we kept, every capability we hidden. It wasn't just about having the strength to win a war. It was about having the power to choose something better. As the reality bridges stabilized, the Void Walkers began to transition through them in an orderly fashion, no longer warping space around them, but moving in harmony with it. The origin point itself, vast and incomprehensible as it was, began a careful withdrawal from their universe through the largest of the bridges. The ancient civilization called themselves the Architects, Chen revealed as the crisis transformed into something entirely unexpected. They didn't leave us weapons. They left us tools. They didn't fail because they couldn't fight. They failed because they ran out of time to build. We've spent 50 years finishing what they started, preparing not just for war, but for peace on a scale none of us could have imagined. The Concordat representatives watched in awe as a new era of galactic history unfolded before them. Humanity had not just prevented a war, they had transformed a potential apocalypse into an unprecedented opportunity for growth and cooperation between not just species but realities. And now, Chen concluded, her voice carrying the weight of 50 years of preparation finally bearing fruit, we can stop hiding. Not because we no longer need to, but because we finally achieved what we were working toward all along. A galaxy where strength isn't measured by the wars we can win, but by the conflicts we can prevent. As the last of the Voidwalkers transitioned safely through the reality bridges, and the origin points settled into a stable connection between universes, the true magnitude of humanity's foresight became clear. They had prepared for war while working for peace, hidden their strength while building bridges, and turned potential enemies into allies not through force, but through understanding. The price of underestimating humanity had not been defeat in battle, but rather the delayed recognition of a species whose greatest weapon was not their ability to fight, but their capacity to imagine and create a better way forward. And as the quantum network hummed with the combined consciousness of countless minds working together to stabilize the new connections between realities, the galaxy entered an era that none had imagined possible. One where the greatest threats could be transformed into the greatest opportunities, and where the power to destroy could be turned into the power to create. The age of isolation was over. The age of connection had begun.